Hey, so why am I able to sell my accounting and bookkeeping services for between $1,000 to $5,000 per month, while most people struggle to get clients for $450 per month? So I get asked this question a lot. I specifically got asked this question like last week because, as you might see on some of my YouTube channels, like a lot of our students are growing and getting clients at a very high monthly price. So they're kind of people, naturally get curious, like what is the difference? Why are they unable to do it when our students, including myself, are able to do that? So I want to kind of break that down. So, like, who am I, and maybe why could this video help you if you keep watching a little bit further? So, currently, I run a six-figure accounting and bookkeeping firm, which I started in 2015. And to date, since 2019, we've helped about 286 people start and grow their businesses inside of our paid mentorship program. Now, if you have any questions or maybe a video that you want me to talk about, put it inside the comment section. If it makes sense, I can make a more detailed video about it in the future. Now, keep in mind, I was not a natural at growing my business. It actually took me about 15 months before I reached like 15K per month in sales for my bookkeeping and CFO business. Now, nowadays, like we have students in our mentorship program that are like hitting like 12K per month as little as like 32 to like 67 days. Now, if you want help starting or growing your business, but maybe you just don't know exactly what you need to do, or maybe you're thinking about starting, but you're just overwhelmed with all the different things that are kind of in front of you, go ahead and click on the link inside the description below to book a call to see if our program is, a good fit for you. Now, back to video. Now, it was extremely hard for me in the beginning, and it was because I was really fearful when it came to talking to business owners. So when I was first getting started about like 7 years ago, I would try to sell my services for like 350, 400 dollars per month. My thinking was, if I got 30 clients pay me about $100 per month, and it's kind of embarrassing to say it now, but I was like, I'd have like $3,000 a month. I'd be good. It would be like a really sustainable income. Then I'd be able to like go and scale from there. And that sounds like a cool thought in theory, but it's just like there's much better way. What ended up happening was even though my prices were low, I did 36 consultation calls and only one person out of 36 said yes. And it was a cleanup project with a 3 year duration that I charged $1,700 for. So if you do the math, 1,700 divided by about 36, what is that? That's about $36 per month that I was charging this person. Divided by, yeah, 36. Sorry, $50 a month I was charging. I was off by about 10. Now I know it's extremely, extremely low. Okay. And if you're being exactly, it translates to about $47.20 per month I was charging. And I mean, it wasn't that, it was just at that point, I was just looking for someone to say yes. I didn't really care like how low I was charging. I just wanted to get my first client. Like, and the first 36 no's were kind of ridiculous. I remember like a few times, like the business owner would treat me with such low respect. And like I remember, there was one time specifically, I was like waiting out this. It was a construction company. It was like the guy did like like doors. So like for actual like if you ever look at like a building, there's always doors, right? Even in your house, there's doors. This guy basically makes the frames. He puts the door. He gets all the hinges. He gets the handle. Everything that has to do with the door. He basically was handling, and he made me sit outside of his office for an hour, and like I could literally see him through the blinds of his office. And then his secretary came out and said, "Oh, he actually changed his mind. And he didn't want to speak to me." And it was just like, or there'll be other times where I do like a 45-minute call, and like at the end they'd be like nodding their head and smiling the whole conversation. Then it's like as soon as I would like testing, as soon as I would try and want to make the sale, then I would give my price and they would just like give me a bunch of like weird excuses, like why they didn't want to get started with me. And I always felt like I was so close to getting them to say yes, but they just wouldn't. The challenge when it comes to sales, right, is you're either close to actually closing or you close the sale. You're either close or you're closing, right? And it's very challenging, right? Because it's very misleading. Because a lot of people think, "Man, I'm getting better. I'm getting better. I'm getting better." But it's like not necessarily, because every kind of consultation call is slightly different. And if you're approaching it differently each and every time, you're not really having that consistent outcome. That's why, like, I always give our students, like our programs, like a sales script, so you can actually be for sure that you are improving on the conversation, because the conversation starts becoming very similar every single time you give it. So you start saying, okay, so every time I ask this question, every time I ask question number one, I get this type of response. Okay. So when I ask question number one this time, I'm gonna like inflect my voice slightly differently, see if I get a slightly better response that's more favorable to me. And the more you do this over this script, this one exact script, then you're able to grow so much easier and you can actually close so much better. Now, other things that would happen, like when I was getting started, was like they would sometimes say like yes, and then they just wouldn't pay the invoice. They'd just like disappear like a ghost in the night. For example, one of my one of the original calls, her name was Desiree. It was Desiree and I can't remember the other lady's name. There was two women. They were like a partner. They basically were trying to like have like a therapy practice, like a mental health therapy practice, and basically one was like the mouth and the other one was the budget. So the other one I can't remember her name. I don't didn't want to like fudge it, but person A, she basically was the mouse. So she's like, "Yeah, this is amazing. I love this. This is great. That's what I want to do." But the other partner wasn't on the phone, so I actually had to go schedule another call with the second partner. And when that person got on the phone, her tone was totally different. It was like, "Yeah, she's the person A is always." Saying like, she wants to do this thing, she wants to go, she wants to move, but she's never really the one that has to pay for things. I'm the one that has to pay for everything. And it's just like, oh, so he's like, yeah, so I don't really know. But then I got them both on the call, the like for a third call, and then they're both there. So then person A was like, okay, yeah, awesome, let's do it. So I was like, okay, cool. I can send you the contract and you guys can like fill it out. Oh, okay. Yeah, send me the contract. And I was like, I was so happy. I was like running around my house, walking outside. It's like, I finally got a client. I'm excited. This thing was amazing. And that person never signed the contract, never paid the invoice, never got started. This is like 8 years later, right? And the thing that really changed it for me was the first thing that I had to learn how to strategically listen. Okay. So most people who struggle to sell, they talk about their service or having proper context needed to customize your presentation. So you should never present your service until you know the other person's pain points. And do not assume that you know their pain points. One mistake that people do is like they'll just start talking. Like they think that sales is just talking. Like all you gotta do is just like be good at talking. If I'm good at talking, then I'll be awesome at getting the client and I'll be able to do it. Sales is not talking, it's listening, it's understanding, it's connecting, it's resonating, it's making sure that you have a connection with the person, right? And again, you cannot assume their pains. Do not start by talking about your service in the first 5 seconds of the conversation, even when, even when they say, tell me about yourself and tell me how you can help. Okay. Do not fall for that trap. Okay. You can talk about yourself, but do not start talking about your service until you understand how to position it in the way that's most relevant to them. So instead, what I like doing is giving like a short answer and then start asking questions to understand the situation. So the reason why is because you won't be able to talk about what's relevant to them, right? It all comes down to relevance and connection. Now, the only way to know what is relevant to someone is to start getting an understanding of their situation. Now, if you don't get this understanding, you're going to be talking about things that just aren't relevant to potential client. Now, again, when you start doing that, that's when they start nodding their head. They start smiling. Awesome. Oh, that looks really good. This sounds really nice, right? But if you don't have that connection, you don't understand the relevance. At the end of the call, they just kind of say, "Oh, that's nice. Let me think about it." Now, when this happens, okay, number one, you need to be asking questions like, well, how long have you been trying to fix your accounting situation? What have you tried to try in the past to fix this? Have you ever had an accountant or bookkeeper? How did that turn out? You need to ask these questions to know exactly what they do or do not like. Now, on this channel, on this YouTube channel, we have like a number of videos that like break down different sales scripts. I even have a video where I actually was like building the sales script from scratch and showing you guys like the newest version of the sales script we have inside of our program. So you can go and like watch that. I'm gonna kind of touch on it a little bit, but I'm not going to like go super detail outside of those questions. Because I mean, like we have a 15-minute video. We also have like a 45-minute video breaking down every single aspects of sales. So next thing is most people struggle because you need to learn how to sit in pain. Okay, so most people struggle when things get hard. Like as soon as when things are easy, it's cool. Oh man, I want to be a business owner. I want to do X, Y, Z. But as soon as things get hard, then they just stop, right? So like when I say it's hard, I mean it's relative. I mean, all this bookkeeping is like the only real challenge you're gonna face is either being overwhelmed, it's being feeling like you got rejected, it's feeling like maybe you don't know someone. Like it's all like these internal feelings. It's not like, like there are people where they're remodeling like bathtubs all day, or they're lifting things up and down stairs like delivery people, or they're installing washing machines, or they're digging ditches, right? That's physically hard stuff. This is more just frustrating work, right? So it just kind of, but most people cannot handle mental frustration. They want to be like physically moving so that they can really avoid really having to do like mental frustration or mental like toughness, right? And one example of this is like I've noticed that kind of how you handle being a consultation call or being sold to anything, right? Is how you generally will either run your consultation calls or generally like how you approach your business. Okay, how we do one thing is really how we do everything. So, for example, one of my students, one of my first like really good testimonials, he's now about 35, about 40K per month. But when he got started, he signed up for my program with like zero hesitation, right? He was getting client, and basically what that did was like the way he carried himself as a business was if he it was just very like black or white. If he feels like something can help him move forward, he does it. If he feels like this person's going to buy from him, he goes and does the consultation. If he feels like that a script's going to work, he uses the script. Right? Everything is very meticulous, fast, decisive, and that's what it takes to win. He was just comfortable. He was just comfortable. His potential clients sense he was serious. See, the challenge people have is that, for example, I get a number of people message me on like Facebook and Instagram. They're like, "Yeah, I want to start this business, or any business in general." It's like I ask them, "Hey, I mean, do you want some help? Maybe later, right? Just it's not really a priority right now." And like unfortunately, I've kind of been in the game since 2019, so I've seen people's career, especially because you're connected on Facebook, and it's just like the number of people have to give up or they're still stuck, or you might hear things like, "Oh, well, I've been trying, but I just people just don't seem to want to start like working with me." It's like it's not necessarily because there's like a magic thing. It's just no one takes you seriously. Like, okay, so one reason why I have people do like a consultation call for our program rather than just like putting a random price online and then people just buying it because I'm vetting the people we work with, right? We want to work with a small number of people who are extremely serious. Because within about 5 minutes of talking, well, for me, it's probably about 30 seconds of talking to someone. I can tell if you're serious, or I can tell if you're just kind of like playing around. And when I say playing around, I don't mean like in a disrespectful way. It's just more of like I can just kind of tell like who's really gonna be successful versus who's not gonna be successful just based on pattern recognition. Now, business owners that are doing 500K, a million, 2 million, $5 million per year in revenue, they like we kind of have like this sixth sense of like we've been in business so long, we've had so many conversations with people who started businesses versus people who are like employees, contractors. We kind of have a sixth sense for when someone's either BSing us or when someone just really is not going to be like the right fit. Like for example, I have to make hiring decisions all the time, right? I have to make firing decisions all the time. I have to go and like do sales. I have to become very good at understanding people, right? But it's the same thing with these other business owners. So they understand it. Like within the first like 3 to 5 minutes, if they sense that maybe like there's some chinks in your armor, you're not really serious, and it's not about your confidence level. It's not about confident, right? Because you can be very competent, know exactly what you're doing, but just not present yourself in a confident way. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the way we see you approach things, the way we see you prepare things, the way we see you do things. Like, right? We can tell like whether or not the person is serious. And that's not a knock to you if you're not serious. It's just, if you are serious, but you're not approaching business in a very serious way, I'd recommend maybe you kind of do some inner introspection, right? Do you actually want this? If you do, that's great. If you don't, that's okay. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, if this is something you truly want, you need to be able to put in the work, put in the time, put in the focus, because this stuff does not just happen. You're not just gonna make, 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month without putting in that work, without putting in that time, right? You might make 3 grand a month, might make 5 grand a month, just like on a whim. But if you're trying to get six figures and above and like have true financial freedom, like this stuff takes time. This stuff takes discipline. Now, assuming you have this internal situation taken care of and your mindset's right, most people who enter the consultation call say things directly like, "Hey." Most people enter the consultation call and directly ask things like, "So how many transactions do you have? How many bank accounts do you have? Do you need financial statements? Is it just me and you?" Like they're asking a lot of transactional questions, and the business owner generally is going to feel like they're ordering off a menu. Now, people who are extremely successful get a feel for the client's views, beliefs, and current situation, right? If you're just asking very transactional questions and ordering off a menu, they will always want the lowest price. When people are ordering off a menu, in a lot of cases, they're gonna be ordering off like the lowest price. But when you're controlling the conversation and you're really good at getting to like the core of what the potential client is, who they want, their values, their beliefs, et cetera, now you're not really going to you're not going to be seen as just basically a fast food restaurant um checkout person. You're gonna be seen like an individual, like a consultant. You're gonna be seen as someone who can advise them. You're gonna see like someone who they can confide in, right? They trust you. That's who they're willing to pay more money for, right? That's why sometimes like what will happen is like someone might not be willing to pay you $100 a month, and you might go around thinking, "Oh, this person doesn't have the budget to pay $100 a month." And you come back like 6 months later, and they're paying this other like bookkeeper like 5 grand a month for like and you're like, what? Wait, what? I thought they didn't have the budget. No, they just didn't really respect you, right? They just didn't really see it in you, right? Now, another thing that you need to do is that once you start asking these like tougher questions about their beliefs and like the core of the people, you need to start finding the pain. And once you find the pain in a situation, do not do the nervous laugh. So the nervous laugh is when they tell you something like deep and dark about their business, and you go, haha, right? And it's kind of like you laugh it off, right? You dissipate that pressure. When you're doing sales, you want people to feel situational pressure in order for them to have like the momentum needed to actually make a decision to move forward in their business. If there's no pressure, they don't think there's a problem, they're not going to move, right? And the challenge is a lot of business owners have been like super overwhelmed, or they just don't really know exactly what they're doing. And then they pour out their heart to you. And then when you kind of like nervously laugh and dissipate the pain slash pressure, it just again like it just removes the activation energy that's needed to cause them to move forward and really see the situation. Without they just kind of like nonchalantly walk into the next person. Because most people, what happens is if they have a problem but they don't do anything about it, they might say things like, "Oh, I'm going to think about it," and they might have like the best intentions to think about it, but it's like they're not really going to think about it. Like life is so busy. Like for example, for me, I'm going to walk out. I'm probably going to trip over my dog. My significant other, her son's probably gonna want something or gonna want to go play something, play a video game or something like that. I'm not gonna think about this video after I shoot it, right? I'm gonna shoot it. I'm gonna walk away. It's the same thing with everything else. People's lives are very busy, right? What's probably going to happen and what most likely happens in most cases is they say they're going to think about it. Maybe they have intentions to think about it. They walk out, there's like a fire, someone gets fired, someone gets injured on the job, and now they're never thinking about your stuff again until the problem kind of rises again. Now they're back in that state and they find someone else who is a better, person to help them out because that person actually walks them through, holds them accountable, and then, makes them see why they should be utilizing their help, right? That's the big thing. Now, that's the most important thing, right? And the next thing, you have to be able to like find the problem they came on the phone to solve. Like oftentimes what happens, like they might come on the call and they might like be very poker faced, not really giving a lot of information. Your job is to really understand how to ask questions that get people to actually want to open up and talk to you. So I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna come back in 1 minute. I might do a part two to this video. We'll see. Hey, so I had to go and do a coaching call, so I had to interrupt this video. But the next thing is you need to be able to be comfortable in silence. So a lot of people they can't handle silence. They can't really be in a position to where they it's kind of like the silence on a call is a lot shorter the better you get because people actually want to work with you. But it goes back to being able to handle like emotional pain, right? So it's like you don't know the person's gonna like get started. They're thinking, they're consuming the information. You basically just stay silent so they can kind of like internalize what you just talked about. What's the price, what's the information, whether it's getting started right now. They have to be able to think about it in that moment. And if you keep talking, then it causes you to come across like really pushy. Now, for me, this is a big struggle because as soon as someone would say that like my price was too high, then I would panic. I'd immediately either jump into like defend myself, prove myself, or show my credentials, or even lower the price. And I was so desperate to try to get them to work for or to work with me. And oftentimes I would say things like, "Well, how much were you wanting to pay? And this is why you need clean financials, or if you don't get this fixed, and these are all the things that can kind of happen to you." Oh, or yeah, I can do hourly, right? And I would just immediately abandon all my plans and my goals. And that led to, the people really not respecting my price for me. And ultimately, it made me feel like one of like the lowest paid like contractors or employees at the company. And nowadays, I know that whenever someone makes an outburst after you've talked about your pricing, in a lot of cases, it's not really about you, right? They're more talking to themselves to rationalize like why they're going to make the decision. And when you talk to bigger companies, the outbursts, of course, can be smaller than when you're talking to like a startup. Like if you're talking to like a solopreneur, give me a second. Yeah. If you're talking to like a solopreneur, oftentimes they're gonna be like having the largest outbursts because they're just not used to like spending money. They're not used to investing in their business. Versus if you're talking like a eight-figure company, it's like, yeah, they bring on like contractors and employees every single day. It's just a non-event for them, right? It's just more about the price. So like that's one reason why I always teach people like to go after like the bigger companies, like seven figures, like between like $2 million a year to about $10 million per year. The ideal sweet spot's about $3 to $5 million per year because like anything smaller than that, you're generally dealing with like a solopreneur in a lot of cases. Anything larger than that starts becoming more of like a full-time job. So I kind of like put it in between that range. So you also have to let them rationalize why is this decision important? Like let them have this inner dialogue. Like don't feel like you're coming under attack. Relax and breathe. Now, keep in mind, this is not a silver bullet. Like this stuff does not work 100% of the time. Sometimes they're actually going to be talking to you and saying it's way too much money. And to get around this, you can actually ask a few leading questions to understand like why are they saying that? And then you can handle the situation from there. So, and we have different videos to talk about like objection handling, how to do that. So feel free to go and watch this on our channel. Now, I hope this video helps. Now, let me know your thoughts or if you have any questions inside the comments. And also, if you want some help growing your business and reaching your goals in like the shortest time period possible, like if you want to make sure that you don't have to go through a lot of like the struggles that most people like, struggle with and then they fail at, click the link either above or below the video to book a call, see if I can help you. Now, some people will kind of wait to do this. And it's like, I want to kind of like do trial and error myself. And it's like, okay, that sounds cool in theory, but I mean, it's really like most people overestimate how much staying power they have, especially we talked about earlier when they're having to sit in pain. Most people will end up like, being very enthusiastic, trying to start the business, and they just end up kind of like running out of steam and end up living in the same spot for like years. And all they have to do is just like reach out, get some help, and finally reach the life that they want. And also, like, if money is like really tight right now, like, don't worry about that. We have like different like payment partners that can help you get funded, so you can actually get your foot in the door to start the program and get off to the races. Okay, so let's see if you qualify. Click on the link inside the description either above and below. See if you're a good fit for our program and for our help, and see if we can help you take you to the goal. If that's you, I'd love to see you on the call. If you're not quite ready, are you ready yet? That's okay too. I'll see you inside the next video. Take it easy. Talk to you soon.